However,
The other members of the crew.
Hi, welcome to another episode of the NOTSTEAM Productions L&L podcast. I'm your host, L. Grimshaw, joined as always by my
where are you going with this?
equally evil sidekick. I don't
No,
know.
every time,
no,
man. Just
every time.
introduce me as an equal. That's all I want.
Oh, actually,
That's all I
Lovable
ask
Rascal.
for.
That's how I was.
Lovable
never an
rascal. Oh god,
Lovable rascal.
I don't know if that's worse. But yeah, I'm the other L. I'm Liam Davies. Hi guys. Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah. No, other than your repeated insulting intros. Other than that, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, been playing lots on my Steam Deck. Yeah, got some stuff to talk about there. But yeah, how about you?
I've been playing a lot. I've been binging a few different games at the moment. I've watched a few TV shows because it's been a while since we last recorded. So I have actually got a few TV shows to talk about.
Cool.
And a couple of movies.
Nice. Well, you started because you seem to have more than me.
So I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. I'm gonna talk about the movies that I've watched recently.
Okay.
So we watched the second murder mystery, which is Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston.
I actually quite enjoyed the first one. I remember thinking it was quite funny. I'd laughed a lot throughout the film, so yeah, I'm not averse to a sequel.
I don't think I did. I didn't particularly like the first one. I don't particularly like Adam Sandler. I don't think he's particularly funny.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it was especially because we've recently watched the Knives Out films, so Knives Out and Glass Onion, and obviously it's the same style, Agatha Christie, whodunit kind of. There's multiple people involved, kind of murder mystery kind of thing. As the name suggests.
Yeah.
I
think they're going for something quite different, though. Like, I think tonally they're both quite different.
Yes and no. Obviously, the Adam Sandler ones, so the murder mystery ones, are more comedy based.
They are straight up comedies, yeah.
Yeah. But the Knives Out and the Glass Onion are both quite comedic in the way that they're presented. They are...
But they're not comedies in the sense that,
No.
Like, it's not an Adam Sandler film. Like, an
Definitely
Adam Sandler-style character would be out of place in that film. But I get what you mean. It's like a...
Unless he was the victim, in which case...
Well, yeah.
I'm okay with that. But it wasn't great. I wouldn't recommend it. Though, two things that I have been watching that I would recommend. Killing Eve, which I know has been out for quite a while.
I've seen it. Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's amazing.
In fact, I think I need to catch up. How many series are there now? How many seasons?
I believe there's 4 seasons. We've only just watched the first. So we've got 3 more seasons to watch.
It's so good.
So good. Jodie Comer.
Yeah.
Is Jodie Comer?
Yeah,
Jodie?
That's right.
She's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Her ability to switch not just accent but like almost personality.
Oh yeah.
Just like click it. Oh, that's amazing. Sandra Oh. I do have a bit of a thing for Sandra Oh.
She's
love
class.
her in most things I've watched. She is great. She's a very nice person to watch on camera because you tend to feel for her.
Yeah, very likable.
Like, the stuff that a very likable actress, very likable character that she plays. That was great. I watched Devil's Hour, which I think might actually pique your interest because there's a certain element about it which is sort of sci-fi-esque. It's a murder mystery.
Sorry, is this a film or a TV show? Did you say?
TV series.
TV, yeah, go on.
It's a TV series on Amazon Prime. It's got Peter Capaldian. And that's the only other person that I can think of at this moment in time. But overall, it's sort of like different time periods sort of interwoven, and there's like bits that are after the events and bits that are before, and it all kind of pieces together. But there's a reveal in like the second to last episode that all I'll say is that it kind of reminds me of a roguelike.
Okay. In what sense?
Yeah. So basically, there's a character who every time he dies, he effectively comes back.
Right.
And has to relive his life and can make the same choices and result in the same death. Or
try different outcomes. Yeah.
Try to remember one of the outcomes. And all I'll say is that's Peter Capaldi's character, and he is amazing. Like, that guy knows how to play an arsehole and like a villain.
Right.
Like, he is so good. Have you ever watched Thick of It?
Maybe. It rings a bell.
It's a political drama that was on like BBC Three, and it was Peter Capaldi, and he played like a whipping boy.
Right.
Is it whipping boy?
The whip.
Whip jockey. It's political. He was like like, come on, this is how we're gonna spin it.
It's the whip. Yeah.
Yeah. And he plays that character, and he's fucking ruthless in that. So that's what I've been watching. So I've kind of stolen... Oh, and we also recently rewatched Wednesday. And it's not as bad as I initially said. It kind of... If you ignore certain aspects of it, the sort of teeny bopper aspects of it, it's quite a fun series. You know, like, it's got some interesting concepts and some, like, twists and turns that if you're not a cinephile, you may never see coming.
Right. Oh, okay.
So that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah. I suppose the target audience is like teens, I guess.
Well, I don't know, because
Did you get that feeling?
the Addams, overall, but then the Addams franchise, the Addams Family franchise, is kind of a little bit all over the place.
Yeah, like it's got
like
early beginnings, and they've had numerous iterations. Like
some of which have been more adult focused, like the traditional TV show that was in like black and white. That was not adult content, but it was more mature. It was
more family,
more dry, more. Yeah, it was like Frasier. Like, I wouldn't. Not that I'm saying it's like Frasier. I'm saying that it's that's same. Like, you wouldn't necessarily put that on for your kids and leave them alone to watch it.
No.
Like, it's that more adult-centric TV show. Wednesday's kind of in between. It's kind of teeny bopper in some places and kind of violent horror, more adult themes.
Right, in other
throughout
spots,
it. Yeah, but overall it's really good. Jenna Ortega, brilliant in that. She actually is the best thing about that role. There's some great actors and actresses in it. Interesting choice is the Gomez and Morticia are played by what's she called? I can't remember off the top of my head. I should have made notes.
Yeah,
but I didn't.
That should be one of our taglines. Or say if we had a bingo card. You know,
could you imagine if we set up a drinking game?
Well, that'd be one of
NOTSTEAM drinking game.
That'd be one of the things. Yeah, you having to say, "Oh, I should have made a note of that."
Yeah. What's she called?
Yeah, you find out. I'll go on to what I've been watching. So I've restarted Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah.
I was just sort of scrolling for something to have something familiar, so that I knew I'd enjoy, and as well just to have on in the background while I'm on my Steam Deck sometimes. And yeah, it's on all the time now, and it's I forget how good that show is. Season 1 was really short. Forgot how short it was. Only 7 episodes, and then I think all the rest are like 13.
Apart from the last season, which is 16, because it was two.
I think something like that.
It was like two lots of 8 episodes, so it was like 16.
Yeah.
Total.
But yeah, it's so good, man. And even though I know what's coming, you don't remember every single beat. You sort of remember what happens, but you can't remember how they get there specifically, and there's stuff that you completely forget about. And yeah, it's brilliant to go back to that.
Little attention to detail.
Yeah, and there's certain things as well. Having finished Better Call Saul before going back to it, like now that I'm meeting, you've met Saul Goodman again. I think I'm on series 3 now, like just early series 3. So Saul Goodman's knocking about. He's helping them launder money and what have you, and you start to notice things about that
his character.
Yeah, and yeah, it's obviously the having his own sort of prequel show gives sort of a different aspect to that character, and it just makes his scenes like extra interesting.
Yeah. I still think that it is one of the greatest TV shows ever made.
Oh, yeah.
Hands down. Like,
be,
the writing on it is incredible.
Yeah.
Sorry, just quickly going back to Wednesday. So, Morticia Addams and... damn it, I can't even remember his name now.
Gomez.
Gomez are played by Catherine Zeta-Jones and Louis Guzman. Both of which I would have maybe recast. Okay. There's other people I would have cast. But anyway, back to Breaking Bad. I just wanted to get that in there before we forget. Just for
that's it. I think we've spoken about Breaking Bad enough, I think. But what I've been playing, I can't remember if I mentioned this on the last pod or not, but I've definitely mentioned it before. But I've gone back to Disco Elysium.
I don't know if you've ever mentioned it on the pod. I feel like you started playing that roughly when we first met.
Possibly.
And you were recommending it to me then.
Yeah, and I sort of fell off it at the time, for whatever reason. It's a very wordy game. Like it's almost like a visual novel, really. Like there's like every interaction is just conversation, and but that's it. That's its strength, really. The writing in it is just brilliant. It's mad. I'm like 15, 16 hours in now. I still haven't found my gun. Haven't had a single fight, really. I've had like one confrontation that I won somehow on a severely disadvantaged skill roll. But yeah, it's just brilliant. Like, I keep discovering new areas, and they're just being sort of like weird and wonderful stuff and characters to meet there. And yeah, I think it's so up your street. Like even like the artwork and stuff that they have in it. Like there's this aspect to it where when you're speaking to someone, or you sometimes you're just having a thought and you're sort of speaking with yourself, you'll get what's called a thought, and you've got like a skill tree basically, and you unlock a slot and you can pick what thought to put into that slot, and it takes a bit of time to sort of mull it over, like in game time, which passes as you have conversations, and then when that thought has been sort of processed, it's embedded and you learn something new, or it buffs certain skills and stuff like that. And when you do that, you get like this little card pops up, and it has like weird abstract art on it, which I don't really have much of an appreciation for. It's not really my stuff, but whenever I see one of these little things pop up, I think that Elle would love that. So you definitely, if you can find it cheap somewhere, then yeah.
It is one that I've been wanting to play, but like, what is the sort of like overall story? What is because I know you wake up hungover.
So you wake up severely hungover,
much like my life.
Yeah, but he's that hungover that he has complete amnesia. So he doesn't know his name. He doesn't know his job. He doesn't know what he looks like. And yeah, it doesn't tell you what to do. You just wake up, you're in this trashed hotel room, and you just try and figure out what to do. And the first sort of 5-10 minutes, you're just walking around this hotel room, you've only got like your underpants on and some socks, and you find your clothes, and there's a mirror that you can go to and look at your face if you want to. You don't have to, but like as you do, it'll bring up your portrait in the little bottom left corner.
Yeah. So you'll know what you look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And pretty soon into it, it's not a spoiler, but you find out that you're a cop, you're a detective, and you were sent there to investigate some murder. A guy's been hung off a tree out in the backyard of this hostel that you're staying at. But it sounds like you got there like 3 or 4 days early and just got absolutely smashed. Went on a huge drinking and drugs rampage, and part of the fun of the game as well is not necessarily retracing your steps, but bumping into people and situations where you're finding out stuff about the rampage that you went on and your life prior to this, because you've got absolute amnesia, you've got absolutely no knowledge, and yeah, like probably took me 14 hours to actually find my police badge and find out my name, like definitely. Like I had an idea what my name was, but I didn't know it for certain.
Yeah.
And yeah, like he's no gun. It's mental. Like one of the choices, for example, like because all the choices affect stuff as well. Like all your choices carry through and they make a difference. But in a sort of more meaningful way than most games that give you choices do. Like for example, like the guy's been hung from a tree, and one of the things you're trying to do is get the body down from the tree, and one of the options was to shoot it down, but I didn't have my gun, so I said to my partner, Kim Kitsuragi, he's a brilliantly written character. He's got glasses and he's not very good eyesight. He gets his gun out and he aims, he takes a shot and completely misses. And then you say, "Oh, go on, let me have a go." And he's looking at you, and it comes up with some description as if to say, like, well, he's looked at you, he knows that you've been on an absolute rampage, you're still hungover now, you threw up a few minutes ago in front of him, and he's like, "Oh, how else are we going to get this tree down?" So he hands you the gun, you have a shot, and it came up with a skill check. And it was like a hand-eye coordination one, which my guy's pretty good with, so I had a good chance of hitting it. He was aiming for like the top of the rope basically, and I failed the skill check and shot the corpse through the chest. And obviously that's quite funny, but then later on when you've got the body down and you're doing an autopsy, like a field autopsy, just filling out some paperwork, like your partner's like on his hands and on his knees or whatever doing the actual autopsy, you're taking the notes, and there's a bit where you're like, "What about the gunshot wound to the chest?" He's like, "Yeah, I think we can just leave that out if you want." Like, it's like, and it's just, there's so many little choices that seem insignificant at the time, but then later on
Have you ever watched the movie Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
Yes, yeah, I love that film.
That's got the absolute one of my favourite scenes in any sort of like murder, mystery, cop drama, like kind of scene is when Robert Downey Jr.'s in the bathroom and he's having a wee and he notices something in the shower, so he like turns and like pulls the shower curtain back, not realising it's a corpse, but like as he like turns, he ends up urinating all over the corpse, and there's this brilliant dialogue between him and Val Kilmer's character where he's like, "Why the fuck did you piss on a corpse?" And he's like, "I didn't mean to." Like, and it's just
there's a lot of
shooting the corpse.
Yeah, there's a lot of that sort of stuff from like little insignificant stuff that then becomes like massively significant later on, and you're like, well, how did this happen? Like something sort of, and it's really funny as well. It's one of probably the funniest game I've played. For me, it's I've not even finished it yet, and it's going to be probably one of my favourite games ever. Like, I think it's that good. Like, it's there's times where, because I generally play it with the sound off, even though there is full voice acting, and the voice acting is very, very good. It's the kind of game that I like to just sort of read, like I'm reading a book. Just have something on in the background. But it's so good. It's definitely like one of the top 3 RPGs I would say that I've played. It's got to be. It's sort of an RPG at its purest form as well.
Especially with like the dice rolling and stuff like that. Like that's a cool concept. Like it's definitely one that I am wanting to pick up. I've been playing something similar in that it's like a detective one. It's the Chicken Police Paint the Town Red.
All right.
Yeah. Don't think it's as good as Disco Elysium.
Sounds very high concept.
It's sort of, it's a point and click adventure, and what I've played so far is pretty good. I only played about an hour or so,
right?
So I am pretty early days, but it seems quite funny. So it's like set in a world where there's, I think they're all animals,
right? Yeah.
And the guy that you are playing as has a chicken head, and there's like some backstory between him and his former partner who's like gone missing, and like this case that you've landed is going to be involved in something to do with your ex-partner, and it's that sort of classic detective noir storytelling. You know, the sort of gloomy streets, that it's always raining, there's always a dude smoking a cigarette in a trench coat with his collar upturned, you know, it's always that sort of thing. And I do appreciate it, you know, I am rather fond of that writing style, considering both my first novel that's published and the novel I'm currently working on lean very heavily on detective noir sort of narrative.
That's another reason to get Disco Elysium, man. If you see that game anywhere for like 30 quid or less, buy it.
Definitely. I've got a bit to play at the moment, one of which is one that we have talked about, well, you've talked about on the pod, but I haven't, and that's Sifu.
Oh yeah.
Which we both actually played on PS5 over the weekend.
Yep.
I never played it on PS4, so I don't know how it played on that. But based on what I've played on PS5, it's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
It is fucking hard. And it is just a case of get good. Like, I am doing better now. Like, I've gone back a few times and done the first level. And now I can pretty much do it without dying, apart from like when I get to the boss,
right?
Because he keeps using like unblockable moves, and I'm just like that. But I'm always like, I keep starting the club at like age 32, or something like that. So I'm trying to like get it down further as much as I can. But I've been doing some of the arenas.
See, I haven't played any of those yet. That's a brand new update. That.
Oh, is it? Right.
It is,
so the arenas, oh my god, they're amazing. So they're kind of all based on like classic scenarios from like old kung fu movies and stuff. So there's one of my favorite ones so far is it's like in a back alley, and it's called the Grand Master, and the challenge is to get the highest combo score you can in so many waves. The bonuses you have are you have infinite health, so you never get knocked out, which is handy. And basically, you know all the moves.
Yeah. That's
you know everything.
Yeah.
And it just feels so badass because you're just there like, punching them and stuff, and the combat does feel great. It reminds me of like Batman Arkham series, in
Yeah,
the sort of like stringing your combats to get like your combos together, and the higher your combo ranking, the more damage you do. It's great.
Yeah.
I really like the art style as well. I think the art style is up there as being just great because they've obviously tried to go for like almost the comic book style.
Yeah. It's like cell shaded. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like a cartoon, like it's been painted, but like it just looks great, and a special appreciation for the old boy reference in the squats, which that level.
That's great.
I actively just every time I do the first area,
yeah,
I always do that corridor.
Yeah.
Because that corridor just feels badass.
Well, I thought because like, after you've done it for the first time, you can go through a shortcut, can't you, and skip it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would you skip that? Like, why would the developers even put something in that lets you skip that? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that's one of the best parts of the whole game for me.
Is there no other variations on it?
Oh yeah, there is, but I think that was I don't know. Yeah, I think that's the best one. Yeah, they do lots of weirder like stuff as it goes on. But yeah,
I agree with you as well.
What I always think with that is like it's like the combat's great, and I know what you mean with it being similar to like the Arkham games or like the early Assassin's Creed games, but like a more refined version.
Yeah,
because there's like
it's
dodges
kind of yeah, and you've got like the sort of like fighting game mechanic of like putting in actual combos.
Yeah, and doing different moves and stuff. Yeah, but I would love for like, say for example, like a Batman game to have that combat system. You know what I mean? Like a big AAA game to have a combat system like that. That's that deep, and you know, because you could argue it's a deeper combat system than say a Dark Souls, in terms of like the different body movement that you can do from him. Like you can dodge stuff by staying still. I think it's if you hold L1 and flick the right stick. I might be wrong. I've not played it for a bit. And he sort of like dodges.
Or you can like tap R2.
You can tap R2 and that's a full dodge, and he'll move backwards or whatever. And yeah, like traversing over the environment, using that to your advantage, like using the environment, like the weapons and stuff, or just like just booting stools at people, knocking them over, like yeah.
That is one criticism that I do have, because I haven't witnessed anything like it just yet. But some of the takedowns are very samey, and I kind of was hoping that it would have lent more into like the sleeping dog fighting, because that had a very good fighting system.
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
like if Sifu had that fighting system, I don't think either of us would have complained. We wouldn't have been like, oh yeah, the fighting mechanic was shit, because sleeping dog fighting mechanic was great. But that also had the ability to say you there's like a car nearby, you could put a character's head through the window.
Yeah.
And like
environmental stuff.
Sort of like environmental stuff. There's none of that. Like, yeah, if you sort of do a takedown near a wall, you'll push their head against the wall, but it's not.
It's contextual.
You don't see an impact, because there's a bit where there's a guy and he's like washing his hands in the bathroom, and you can sort of like sneak up behind him, and it would have been just great to just like smash his head against like the mirror in front of him and like punch him, you know, and just knock him out that way, and have a bit more environmental impact. Because whilst I appreciate, you know, if there's a bag of money on the floor or a bottle, you can kick it at like the enemy as they run at you, but come on, like there's like fish tanks, there's fans, there's shit to use as well. Like that's the annoying thing. Like I'll see something, I'll be like, oh, it'd be so good if I could just smash somebody's head into that.
Yeah, I think
you know what I mean.
like I get where you're coming from. I think maybe why you can't is because they wanted to focus on the kung fu aspect of it, and how it's more about just him using his body as a weapon rather than everything around him. Like they can still use bits, but
I know.
Yeah.
And to be fair,
and who knows?
Maybe it's some.
Surely they're going to do a sequel.
Yeah, maybe it's something they can introduce in a sequel, but it is just something that is my only criticism in what I've played so far is that I would have liked to have seen more.
Yeah, I agree.
Sort of impact on the environment around you.
It's
rather
less,
than it be.
It's less environmental attacks and more just like contextual. Like you can throw people downstairs and it does extra damage, which I like. You know, it's sort of more tactical in a way because you have to like position you and the guy in the right spot, or do a throw or what have you. But yeah, it's a great game and it is hard, and you have to really get good and understand the skills that you've retained and how they work, and
I really like the leveling up system. I really like the leveling up system. I think it's quite smart. I love the sort of as you get older, depending on what your death counter is how many years get added on.
Yep.
So like, that's absolutely solid gameplay design.
Yeah,
like especially for something that's sort of a Soulsborne, sort of a
sort of
roguelike.
Yeah.
It's that idea of trying to have a seamless run. Like Hades, but they've done their own thing.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. And the soundtrack as well.
Oh, yeah.
Can we appreciate that soundtrack?
Yeah, it is epic.
So, the copy of Sifu I got, I didn't realise, came with the digital art book and soundtrack.
Yeah, I think mine did as well, yeah.
So, I've got that to check out at some point, which is pretty cool. But yeah, no, I think it's an absolutely top game. I have been playing Metroid Prime.
Oh yeah.
But then not Metroid Prime, Metroid Dread.
Dread.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I have taken a pause because I cannot for the life of me figure out where to go next.
Yeah, it's quite easy to get lost.
I've completed the first boss.
Yeah.
That weird scorpion thing where you've got to shoot it in the tail. I've completed that, and I'm in like a lava-y area, and I can't figure out where to go forward.
Follow the lava pipes. That's all I remember from the lava area.
I'll probably pick it up after Sifu, because yes, Sifu has taken over my life. I must master all the kung fu. But have you been playing anything else?
Bit of Batman Arkham Knight again on Steam Deck. In fact, with that, because I've never played any of the DLC stuff, and there's a few DLC missions.
I've never done any of the DLC.
Yeah, the version I got.
The only
for
one
Steam
I did
Deck
was the Catwoman one. The pre-order one for Arkham City. That's the only one that I've ever played.
I'm on about Arkham Knight.
I'm just saying.
Just saying. You threw me off because there isn't a Catwoman one. So on what have I done so far? So there was a League of Shadows one, where it was quite cool actually. It was like there was this. Basically, you find this scene where there's a few dead assassins. There's like blood splatters, and so you do a little investigation there, and then you following a blood trail across the city, and it's quite cool the way that they've done it. Like it's almost like they've found a perfect route to be like, right, here's a cool sort of free running section that you can do as Batman, and like, okay, this is cool. And as well, it like leads you through like groups of enemies and stuff, or it took me past one of the firemen that you need to save. I was like, oh, well, I'll do that while I'm here as well. Blah, blah, blah. So that was pretty cool. And then it ends with like a a decision on whether to kill or save Ra's al Ghul, which was pretty cool.
To kill?
Well, basically, yeah. Not to kill him.
Like, let die?
To sort of let him die, yeah. That was pretty cool. And there was one with the Mad Hatter as well. That was really weird. It was like he handed himself in, so you go to interrogate him, and he like drugs you with something, and you sort of wake up in you're sort of like a 2D
Wonderland.
character in a pop-up book.
Oh,
Which is pretty cool. It was weird. Like all the characters were sort of like cel shaded, so that they looked drawn in a way, like they belonged in a book. And you had to fight like waves of guys, and then when the page would turn, you'd have to use your grappling hook to like get the top of the
jump
page,
onto the page.
and then get onto the next page.
That sounds amazing.
And it's like really like quite beautifully done. That was really cool.
Because do you remember in Arkham City, there was the Mad Hatter mission in that one as well, where
It's been so long since I played City, I can't remember.
I think that's the best one in my opinion.
Yeah. I'll have to get it.
But well, in that one, there's a mission where you fight the Mad Hatter, and basically you stumble upon like a birthday party kind of thing, or a tea party, sorry.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then you get drugged somehow. I can't remember quite how it happens, but basically you're in like some sort of fever dream where you're sort of in a Wonderland-esque Gotham.
Right, yeah.
And you're fighting these like versions of you that are all rabbit ears.
Yeah, I do remember that, yeah.
And to be honest, I'm all for that because it was weird and it was wonderful and it just works, man. It works. One final thing that I want to touch on, only because I know you've been reading it. What have you been reading?
So I've been reading Saga.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know if we've mentioned it on here before, but yeah, it's a really cool...
I think I have.
Yeah, you might have done, yeah. And it's a really cool blend of sci-fi and fantasy. It's basically a Romeo and Juliet take on... but instead of them being from rival families, they're one's from a planet, one's from a moon.
Yep.
Or that's the side, like I think that's where the war originated from, a planet and a moon, and it's spread, and they're from opposite sides. He was her prisoner, she was his guard, they fell in love, they break out together, they're fugitives on the run, and she, in the very first pages, she gives birth to their daughter, which like the narrator for the series is from the daughter's perspective, which it tells you that pretty early on. It's one of the first things it says. This is how I was born, something like that. Or this is the day I was born.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah.
So that was like a nice little touch. And yeah, they're basically getting pursued by both sides, really, because they're both sort of seen as traitors. And there's lots of like assassins that get set on them. There's some quite interesting assassins. Like they're all called the something, like the situation, or I can't remember what they're actually called off the top of my head.
There is the situation. I'm sure.
Like the decline, I think one of them might be something like that. But yeah, they're like weird and wonderful. Like one of them has basically like a tiger. I think it's called a lion cat. And
yeah, lion cat.
Whenever someone, lion cat. Like, 'cause I don't think he can speak apart from say the word liar, and he says liar or lying. Yeah, when somebody's lying. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, and like I say, yeah, the blend of sci-fi and fantasy has been tried before, but I think it really works with this.
It's such a good series. Like,
Yeah.
hats off to them both. Like, they've done a really, really good job. And do you know, really sad thing about it is we'll likely never see it as a TV show
Why is that?
because both the writer and the artist have stated that they're not interested in it ever being made into a TV show.
Yeah, well, what's his name said that about Watchmen? What's his name? Did Watchmen?
Alan Moore.
Alan Moore, yeah, he said that about Watchmen, and we've had a film and a TV series. So you never know.
Yeah, well, you never know. I mean, they might change their mind. And to be fair, I love it for what it is.
Yeah.
It is my probably all-time favourite comic book series. I think it's beautiful, it's poignant,
I think there's
There's
great
some
potential
power.
there for a video game, like a co-op, sort of like God of War style video game. Would be perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, I'd be bang up for that.
Like, and you could take, like, perspective of, like, different characters and stuff. So, like, oh no, I fully agree with that. Like, I think that would be an absolutely great sort of way to do the series justice. As far as I'm aware, they're still on hiatus, so I don't really know what the future is going to be of it. Because I've got the entire series, but I'm still waiting to get the last one, which is number 10.
Yeah.
Because I've just not been able to pick it up anywhere. But other than that, like, yeah, an all-time favourite series. So, moving on though, Liam.
From our longest ever intro.
You say that every second time, and
Because
it's
they
not.
get longer every time.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
I don't think it's our longest ever, but yeah, go on. Moving on.
Yeah, well, you're now prolonging it. So, what one video game item would we absolutely love to receive through the post? And I'll let you go first.
Okay, thank you. So gracious. So when I thought of this, I thought of something that would fit through a letterbox. I thought something that I don't have to sign for. You know, it can just be there when maybe I've been out for the day. I come back. Oh, nice little parcel on the inside of my front door. So I went for the only obvious choice, which is of course the Sheikah slate from Breath of the Wild. So it's like it's like a tablet-sized slate, basically.
Oh yeah.
And that's what he uses to use his abilities, basically. So he can like freeze time. Well, not freeze time, but like freeze an object, both literally and sort of spatially in a way. Like there's a freeze aspect to it. So if you want to cross a river, you can freeze it, and a pillar of ice will pop up, and you can do. I think it's up to 3 pillars of ice at once. So you can use that to sort of jump all the way across the river. You can lift stuff like metallic objects. You can just pick it up. Doesn't matter how much it weighs. It's sort of like magnetic magic. And it creates bombs as well, like round bombs and square bombs. Because
Oh wait, what's the difference?
one's round and one's square.
Alright, but what's the fucking difference between the two bombs?
Well, think about it.
Why
If
is one circle, one square?
Well, if you get the round one and put it at the top of a hill, it'll roll down the hill. If you get a square one, it'll just sit there. So it's
So one's more like a trap.
well, yeah, or for solving riddles, or not that I'll be
Right.
solving riddles with it. I'll be throwing bombs at people.
Psycho.
They're not like killy bombs. They're from Breath of the Wild. It's a kid's game.
Right, well, I don't fucking know. I was wondering, is one made of C4? Is one made of napalm? What is the deal here? Why is one a square? Why is one a circle?
Well, yeah, it's from Breath of the Wild, isn't it? So it's for solving puzzles, and yeah, you can use them in fighting. I have done it before, where I roll one down a hill into a group of enemies, and because you can detonate it whenever you want.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
How do you just press a button? Or something?
Yeah. Yeah. What else? I feel like I'm missing one because I think there's 4. Yeah,
I still feel like.
Yeah.
I still feel like the fact that you're able to make bombs, regardless of whether or not they're for solving puzzles, I still feel like you should be put on a watch list.
Well, nobody else has got one of these Sheikah slates. Nobody knows what it does.
Right.
Nobody knows I can make bombs. Except me.
Well, I'm me.
Yeah, but you're not going to rat me out. I'm not.
I might just open a box and there'll be a bomb in there. Like, oh. Well, what I'm getting in the post will fit through the letterbox. And also, can I just point out that in regards to that, I wasn't expecting you to be like able to not receive it. Like you're just gonna get like.
I hate like having to go to the post office or whatever to pick up my parcel. So I wanted to avoid that. Not possible. Outcome.
Well, stay tuned for next week when we talk about what item are we going to the post office for. I would get the web shooters.
Yeah.
Like, hands down.
That was on my list. Yeah, it's a good shout.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even need to get up for most things.
It's true.
As long as they're in the same room as me.
Yeah, as long as you can see it. And as well, you've got to think, you've got to hit it with the thing, with the web, and then you've got to pull it to you and catch it, because you're not getting Spider-Man's powers. You're just getting his web shooters.
Shit, yeah. And I am quite a flinchy person, so if something comes flying towards me, my first instinct is get out the way. So, I might have to return it.
It still would be cool.
Maybe for like a day until I end up in A&E with 2 black eyes because I've tried to bring a controller close to me but brought a TV. A
big bookcase.
I was yeah. You just find out I've died and covered in web because I've just brought all the furniture onto me. It exploded in my hand or something. Actually, yeah, no, it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, and then it doesn't look like web when the ambulance arrive. And they're like, "Oh my god, this must be like some."
This is the worst masturbation.
Yeah, this is some weird
we've ever
sex
seen.
thing, man.
Jesus. It's the Exorcist wank. You lift all your furniture up, throw it up in the air, try and wank before it falls down on you.
Right.
That's what it is.
Shit, man.
We've invented a new thing.
I did not invent that. That's all yours, my friend.
I'm a bit disappointed with mine now, though, because I forgot that I wouldn't have his powers, so it would be a bit shit.
Yeah.
But I suppose I could still,
Yeah.
Just do it for the shits and gigs, just be like, just run up to people and spray them in the face and then run away.
And I'll bomb
Actually,
them.
no, I'm going to keep them.
You spray him in the face, I'll bomb him.
Oh, that took a fucking left turn. Right, moving on to... It seems a bit inappropriate now.
Oh, well.
5 bad guys we've enjoyed taking down.
Yes.
So, I'll go first. Number 1, Zachary Comstock from the BioShock Infinite game.
You'll have to refresh me on that.
basically he's like a religious zealot who's like believes in sort of blood purity and all this shit, and his sort of cloud city that he develops is basically a racist like utopia, and you know I just enjoy killing him. It's quite fun. Like you like drown him in like a baptism pool, which is somewhat ironic, but that's a spoiler, so I won't tell you.
Nice. Yeah. Fair.
But he is fun to destroy. But with it being a Bioshock game as well, you often get these like tapes of like listening to him speak, and as vulgar as what he says is, like the guy that voices him, like has a really good sort of voice, and is very like, you know, like when you hear his tapes, you hear every word he's saying because you're fully like, what's this motherfucker saying now? And then eventually when you finally get to him and you've learned everything about him and you kill him, it's really rewarding. And I believe it is better than Andrew Ryan's death in Bioshock.
Fair enough.
So that's on my list.
Cool.
He's crossed off.
Well, first on mine was the literal giant that you fight in God of War Ragnarok. Like, I really enjoyed that boss fight sequence. Like, I think you're in a kitchen and you're like running around, hiding behind cups and stuff. Like, I love that like idea of being so small that you can hide behind a cup, you know, and the giant's looking for you and they can just do a big swipe and take everything out, and you're like running around and stuff like. And it one of the most gorgeous games ever made as well, and you really get that sort of sense of scale and scope, which they're good at doing anyway in God of War. But yeah, for it to be a literal giant rather than, you know, a massive dragon or something like that, I thought that was really good. It's the only really like literal giant that you fight in either of the God of War games. Thinking about it, the reboots, because he used to do that a lot back in the day, like running all over cyclopses and stuff. But yeah, I think they toned that down a little bit.
Do you not fight one in the first?
I think you fight like a dragon. There's the giant snake, but you don't fight him.
You don't fight that, which I really disappointed in that. I really wanted to fight that snake.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been
the world
amazing
serpent.
fight.
Yeah.
But no, that is a really good fight. Because it kind of reminded me as well, with everything being so big. I don't know if you've ever played it, but Little Nightmares.
No, I've seen it. I know what it is. Yeah.
It's really good.
That's a similar sort of thing, really, isn't it?
But it's that scale, it's that feeling so small and useless, and you know, like, it is a good boss fight. Like, to be fair, but does she deserve? Like, do you actually kill her though? I can't remember. I don't think you do. I think you just break.
Yeah, I don't think you do kill her. No, you piss her off.
Yeah, you do piss her off.
Yeah, you beat her. Like, I enjoyed taking her down. Those were your words. She's not dead.
That's fair.
We took her down.
Well, to be fair, my next one is Kingpin, Spider-Man.
Yeah, you don't kill him, does he? Yeah, see.
He doesn't kill him, but he gets him sent to jail.
Yeah, he takes him down. That's fine. That's a good fight, that as well.
It's an amazing fight. Like, for an opening game, and especially with it being Spider-Man, it felt the most like I've ever felt. Like, that game, for me, is probably the ultimate Spider-Man game.
Oh, yeah.
Because of just the seamless way that the combat feels, like the way they've sort of used Batman, that like Arkham series style combat, but tailored it to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And his sort of combat style and his gadgets and what he's capable of. Like, the way that they've done that for me, top tier. And
Yeah.
that, with the Kingpin as being your opening fight, who is like one of Spider-Man's arch nemesises, brilliant. Like, and it's such a good fight. So yeah, I enjoyed taking Kingpin down.
Yep, same. Yeah, I just remember the bit where you sort of fall in and you keep hitting those, you're going like through bridges or whatever it is, and you're like hitting each other in the air and stuff. Like, I love that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, really,
it's
really
absolutely brilliant.
good. Great opening to the game. That because are you chasing? Are you chasing something on the way there? I can't remember. Or is that later on?
I think that's later on.
Yeah, might be
Or
later on.
that, no, I think that might be Miles Morales. That starts with you sort of like webbing through the city, chasing a like car.
No, I'm
with Peter.
thinking of a helicopter that's carrying something. And you're chasing that, but I think that's later in the game. Yeah, but yeah, that's brilliant. I might go back to that after Arkham. Yeah, that's a good shout.
It'd be interesting to play them two games side by side and sort of seeing how they differ, because they are very similar,
Yeah,
whilst
big time.
also being completely polar opposites in some ways.
Yeah,
But I think that's more about the two comic book styles.
yeah, and
than
the
anything.
characters themselves, like Spider-Man's like quippy and quite light-hearted, and they both don't kill anyone. They're both good guys. But yeah, Batman is obviously a lot darker, and he only goes out
Tell
at
that to
night.
Gwen Stacy.
Well, he didn't kill her.
I mean, he did.
Well, maybe. Anyway, my next one. I've gone for the ninth sister from Jedi Fallen Order. That's the sort of big beefy one. That you fight on Kashyyyk. Yeah, I really like that because it was sort of the first boss fight in that where you're fighting someone that's using a lightsaber after you've already got some powers, so you can have a proper good fight. Yeah, it's just really fun. Like I played it not so long ago, and I think because I've played it that much now, I can sort of beat her quite easily. Like you read her attacks quite well. She's not a particularly difficult boss, but I think that maybe makes me like her a bit more because it's sort of easier and it looks so cinematic. And like there's just like simple little things like when she tries to do a force push against you and you block it and it pushes you back a little bit, but you keep you don't lose your balance or what have you. Yeah, it's just really cool. And then she'll get angry, and I think at one point you cut her hand off, and then she just carries on fighting, and it's great fight. And then my only beef with that is that he finishes her off in a cutscene.
Yeah, you don't get the privilege of.
Yeah, which is kind of that's a staple really with most boss fights. It'll come, or you'll see him die in the cutscene. But yeah, I enjoyed that. It was a good boss fight, and he finishes her off. And then when he gets back to the ship, they're like, "Oh, how did it go?" He's like, "I defeated the Ninth Sister," and they're all like, "Say what?" And love that. Badass.
Badass as fuck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no. To be fair, I was actually thinking of putting that on my list. But I was actually thinking of putting on the other one,
With
the smaller one.
like the main one towards the end.
Yeah, because that like last battle that you do with her is amazing.
Yeah.
But I think that's more because of what it leads to.
Yeah. See that's it. Yeah.
So my next one is Leonard Wolf from Silent Hill 3. And basically he's this like insane priest. He's like when you meet him, he's like all like chained up and stuff. And like he's a really nasty guy, and as you like sort of explore the game, you sort of learn about what he's been up to, and he basically runs a cult, and he's like murdered a few people in the town because they don't agree with the shit that he's saying. And then when you finally meet him, he turns into this like monster. And then you get to like shoot him a few times and he dies, and it's really satisfying.
Nice.
But it's like, in terms of Silent Hill as well, like it's one of those bosses that it's not particularly hard, but because of his character and like if you get into the games and you sort of get into the narrative, you do feel a sense of like justice when you've done it because of obviously like when you read in the articles and stuff. It's it's good to put him down, and he turns into this like big horrible like it's got daggers for like hands.
Nice.
Yeah, it's horrible. So what's your next one?
My next
also
one.
I have it. Sorry. Go on.
Okay. I've gone for the Rat King from Last of Us 2 because I killed it not so long ago, and I think still gives me the creeps. Like,
it's horrible.
Yeah, and there's that bit part way through where a bit of it breaks off, and there's like another smaller version of it running around, and like just creepy and weird. And I actually misremembered it when I replayed it recently because I thought you just ran away from it. I thought there was a bit where you just run away and you get through like a little gap and you have to mash some buttons, what have you. But no, you have to fully kill it, and I was just running around like an idiot for a little bit. But yeah, eventually used the trusty flamethrower because you're playing as Abby at that point. And yeah, that did the job in the end.
I hate that boss.
Yeah, I think truly terrifying boss.
Oh yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, I just mentioned one of my favourite horror games, and even that character doesn't touch the Rat King.
Yeah.
Like, the Rat King is horrific. Which, interesting note, I did some research into it because we watched something else that mentioned a Rat King, and I was like, interesting.
It's a thing, yeah.
It is a thing. It's where like rat tails get all like intertwined and stuff. Although I was reading that people don't know whether or not it's something that actually happens, like naturally because of the way that rats sleep and their tails like touch and shit like that, or whether or not it's like a sort of freak show thing where people have, after they've killed these rats or whatever, tied their tails together. But either way, the Last of Us version is truly horrible.
Stuff of nightmares, really is. We have not actually said what it is. It's a bunch of infected all mashed together, and it's huge and it's strong. And there's a bit building up in the build up to it where. Because I think you're in the basement of a hospital, I think, if I remember right.
Somewhat like that, yeah.
And there's a bit where you're going through, and there's like an ambulance, I think. Yeah, it must be. That's sort of reversed up to kind of like a loading bay wall, I guess. It's where they bring some of the patients in or what have you. And the inside of this ambulance is just completely sort of caved outwards. Like something massive has forced its way through, and as she's going through, she's like, "What the hell did this?" It's like, "What could even do this?" And you're like, "Oh shit, there's going to be something horrible down here now, isn't there?" And it's worse than you expect. And
it's fucking horrible.
Yeah, really grim. But yeah, what's your next one?
My next one is Odin.
Oh yeah, from
Ragnarok. I enjoyed taking down that slimy bastard.
Yeah.
Like, and I thought it was a good fight, but, and I'm glad that you picked up on the Star Wars thing and like mentioned like your criticism on that, because one criticism I did have on the sort of Ragnarok thing was the fact that it did feel a little bit rushed towards the end.
Yeah, I thought it did. That whole closing section, like the final battle, if you like. I thought that was over a bit too quick.
Yeah, and I think that they were kind of hoping that you would focus more on like the side stuff and like delay it out and stuff. But if
I
you
did.
just played it, oh right, okay, then I also like because I just played it for the story. I tried to just get through the story as quickly as I could, and I just felt it like, especially the way I played it. I felt that the entire end side of the game, developer wise, felt rushed. Like, not that I was rushing, that just how the battle didn't even seem like a battle. But that being said, Odin's fight, like, it was a two-parter and stuff like that. It was a good sort of, like, I felt like when I was fighting Boulder for the first time again. Like, I think that was the closest I got to, like, feeling like the Boulder fight was with Odin. Like, that sort of testing and equal. But yeah, Odin all the way.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. My next one. Not done that one. Oh, the flying monster from Shadow of the Colossus. I remember this one because for me at the time it was mind blowing that there was this giant bird thing basically flying at me to try and kill me, and the only way to kill it obviously is to get on it and stab it somehow. And I just remember the first time doing it, stood on this little platform and it flying towards it, swoops in really low, and you just jump at the right time, grab on, and then before you know it, you're in the air, you're flying around, and I think it's one of the harder bosses because your stamina runs out really quick and then you fall off and you die quite easily from like drops and stuff. But yeah, just like the scale of that, even though it's not the biggest, I think just the fact that you were carried away so quickly when you jumped onto it, like that really, like the first time playing that, probably about 20 years ago now, like, just blew my mind, and it stayed with me.
Is it technically a bad guy?
Well, it's a boss. You kill it.
Is it a bad guy?
Why not? He tries to kill you.
Yeah, because you're trying to kill it. It's just a happy little giant flying round.
A happy little giant.
And then you come up. Yeah, happy little giant. They exist. That's a little giant compared to the big giants. All right.
Well,
little giant, big giant.
I took it down.
And
I killed it.
Yeah,
it's an enemy.
You murdered it.
It was an enemy.
You murdered it.
Whether it's good or bad,
an innocent
good and bad are matters of perspective.
Innocent creature. I took that game as slaughtering innocent creatures and decided I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Unless
murdered
they're
9
human.
giants to save one little woman.
Exactly. It's not worth it. Let the giants live. My next one's Hitler. From the Sniper Elite games.
Right, yeah, I was going to say which Hitler. Yeah, that's a good shout.
Just because it's so much fun.
And you can...
And especially with the X-ray mode.
Yeah. Hitting him
in the testicle.
In the one testicle that he has, yeah. Of course. It's got to be done. Yeah.
It's so much fun. I remember when the first time I played it, I think I played it repeatedly for about 4 hours. Just redoing it and seeing like how good I could do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's satisfying.
Those games in general are just, they make killing so fun. Like, it's bad, but yeah, when you hit a perfect shot, like say if it's something like you get 2 guys with 1 bullet, it goes through one guy's head and then through the next guy's like spine or whatever, and you can really slow it down and like change the angle and stuff. It's yeah. If ever there was a class on how to build a game around a specific mechanic and make it fun. What those guys have done with I think we're on to the 5th Sniper Elite game now.
No, I think it's more than that, isn't it?
Well, I think
Six?
there's 5 like numbered ones, and there's a couple of spin-offs. Like there's like a zombie spin-off as well.
Yeah. Which
But
there's
yeah,
a
it's just-
shoot zombie Hitler as well.
Well, the last one I played was, I think it was 4. I think it's on Game Pass. And that, like, even if you took out the sort of X-ray when you were sniping people, it's a good like stealth sim now as well. Like, it's more than just the sniping to it. But yeah, it's really really fun games then. Good. Was that your last one?
No, yeah, no, that's all mine. That's all mine.
Cool. Yeah, Hitler at number 1. That's fair enough. So for me, mine's also a racist. I've just put his name down as the giant racist from Disco Elysium. So this is the one and only sort of physical confrontation that I've had in Disco Elysium. It's this absolute monster of a man. He's huge. They describe him as 2.5 meters tall, built like a brick shit house, got tattoos all over him, and he's like a really articulate racist. Like he knows a lot about all the different races. He'll break it down for you. One of the options is to get past him. One of the options is to sort of get on board with his race theory, as he calls it, and basically become a racist, and then he'll welcome you in, and that's one way to do it. I didn't want to become a racist, because I've got better morals than that, I guess. And yeah, there was an option. There was a skill check option, and it was really a low chance as well. It was like 15%, 20% chance of winning. It tells you before you do the roll. And I thought, it was knock him out was the command. So I clicked it. I did the dice roll. It popped up green saying, yeah, you've done it. And then it comes up with a little description. Goes into slow motion. And my guy punches him right in the stomach. And it comes up saying, you've surprised him. You've totally winded him. You got him right in the solar plexus. He's on his way down. And then it comes up with another option. It's like, how are you going to finish him off? It's like, you can either just leave him and he'll drop to the floor like a sack of spuds, or you could punch him again in the face, or the third option, which is the one I went for, which said take a step back and hit him with a spinning back kick. So I thought, well, I've got to choose that, and then it shows the little animation. He takes a step back, and imagine as well, my character, he looks like, he looks like he's been drinking heavily for the last 30 years. Not in good shape. All his clothes are dirty and stuff. So he takes a step back and then goes forward, does this spinning back kick to the face, knocks this guy clean out, and then the other talk of the town. Then you're talking to other people and oh, we saw you knock that guy out. That was really impressive. And when you go back to him later on, if you talk to him later on, he sort of acknowledges that that you bested him. He's like, but it doesn't change anything about the racial hierarchy. You're like, oh god, this guy. So I'm hoping at some point I'll be able to go back and kill him. There's quite a few there's quite a few racists in that game that I want to get rid of if I can. That's one of the things that I love about Bioshock Infinite is the fact that everybody in that game is probably a racist. So yeah,
I don't feel bad killing them.
Yeah, so that's it. If they're reprehensible people, then it's fine. Morality doesn't really come into it. I was playing Uncharted recently, and he's murdered millions of, maybe not millions, but hundreds, if not thousands, of people throughout the games. And you're like, whoa, that's a bit, he's not Rambo.
If they're all neo-Nazis, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Fine.
Yeah, not a problem.
Doing the world a favour.
Yep. Too right.
And if there are people that microwave fish in a communal microwave.
Yeah, they there's a special place
Scum
in
of the
hell
earth.
for those people.
Scum of the earth.
Yeah.
Which moves us on to our next section, which is Darker Dungeon and More Dangerous Dragon. A mysterious traveller has told us about a local dungeon haunted by a death dragon and its army of twisted creatures. All these enemies are level 50 plus, and we may run into traps. Characters chosen will have their base stats, but then we have to equip any armor on them or weapons. If they have supernatural powers, may use one as a skill. Okay, so starting with yourself, what are you going with?
So, just to clarify, we're picking, say, a piece of armour, some equipment, somebody's equipment set, and a skill for each character.
Yeah.
So yeah, for myself, armour, I'm gonna have Iron Man armour, because why wouldn't you? You know, you're protected, you can fly, you've got ranged attacks. Like, what more do you want?
I may have not thought this through again.
Hey, I even clarified with you beforehand, so yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to win this one. So that's my armour. The skill that I want to have is the domino effect, the domino skill from Deathloop. I think, is it called Domino or is it called Nexus? I think maybe. I can't remember. But basically, the one where you link up enemies that are close by, and if you kill one, they all die. So that'd be handy for hordes of enemies. And equipment, I want Cal Kestis' lightsaber.
Okay.
Because, come on, it's a lightsaber, and it's a double-bladed lightsaber, and it can split into two as well. So, yeah.
Fair dues, right? Fair dues.
Go on, what about you?
My weapon of choice is the Soul Reaver from the Legacy of Kain games.
Yep.
So it has elemental damage as well as being like a sort of dimensional weapon. The Ghost Armor from Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay.
Because it's fucking badass.
Yep.
And the Murder of Crows ability in Bioshock Infinite.
Which is...
So I'd be able to... The ability to, like, fire murderous, like, crows at your enemy, which, like, distracts them and, like, pecks at them and, like, does damage to them. So... Or I could, like, set a trap with, like, by sort of holding it down and, like, setting a nest. So
right,
then if somebody steps in it, they get attacked by crows.
Cool. Well,
they would call me the Crow King.
Nice.
Yeah.
Gotta say.
Go on.
No, we'll compare at the end. Should I go on to my first character?
Yep. Go on to your first character.
Okay. So, has he been mentioned in this episode? I don't think we've mentioned him by name, but I'm about to.
Oh, go on.
Kratos, of course.
Go on.
If you want anyone in a dungeon, it's got to be Kratos. Armour. Imagine Boba Fett armour on Kratos.
I would have it like sort of Kratos-esque as well.
Oh yeah, it'd have a Kratos colour theme. Yeah. Maybe like an ash base with some red stripes. Yeah, that'd be cool. I was thinking about loadout because I'm like, well, he can just use his fists if he needs to. But it's Kratos.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll give him. I want to see Kratos in sci-fi armour with Joel from The Last of Us with his loadout. So he'll have like an old beat-up shotgun with sci-fi armour on.
So it does specify one weapon.
It doesn't actually. It specifies equipment.
Oh, for fuck! Right, okay, I'll let you have it. Fuck.
Yeah, so So all the Joels load out. Imagine Kratos building a little nail bomber. Throwing a little nail bomb off.
So go on, what's his skill?
Oh, and his skill. So have you played the game Outriders? Just kind of like a looter shooter thing. There's like different classes you can pick in that. There's one that's like a lightning class, so like electric, and his like main ability is he basically can target anyone and he'll teleport behind them and then hit them with like a melee attack, like, and it's kind of like an energy sword, like, and it does massive damage. So yeah, he's got that as well.
Fair dues.
Yep.
I've kind of got a bit traditional with all my answers.
Oh, have you?
Because my next one is Hellboy.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Stormbringer, which is a sword in Dark Souls,
Right.
which if you charge it up, you basically shoot like a gust of air that slices as well.
Nice.
And it's like really long. So that's the sword. The armor, Daedric plate from Skyrim.
Yep.
It's gotta be.
Classic.
And skill, keeping it with Hellboy, is fireproof.
Wouldn't he be fireproof anyway? Because he's Hellboy.
Yeah, but that was. Yep. Oh yeah. All right. Well. All right then. Berserk mode.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Berserk mode.
Yeah. Good shout.
I was gonna say fireproof, but yeah, fair point.
It could be fireproof as well. Yeah. Okay. My next one. So I've gone for Corvor from the
Dishonored.
from Dishonored games. Armor. I'm going to put him in Samus Aran's armor from the Metroid games. He's going to have the weapons of Mark Felix from the Gears of War games. So a nice chainsaw machine gun. Yeah. It's good against hordes. Yeah. And his ability is the mimic ability from Prey. So you can turn into...
Oh, yeah. Being able to turn into sort of anything.
Like, objects and stuff. Which I don't really know how that would come in handy with fighting stuff, but it's a cool ability. I just wanted to chuck it in.
To be fair, I was trying to think of a way to put it in with mine, but I'm pretty proud of what I've got so far. Just going to take... Sorry, personally. My next one is Deslin Rowe. So the character from the Infamous games.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, I'd give him his like neon ability. So he would
the neon one. Wait, which Infamous game? Is he the one from
Second Son?
Right, yeah, the PS4 one. Yeah. Sorry, no.
So I'd give him the neon ability. So like he'd also be able to sort of light the way for us. The sword, I would give him Erendite, which is the sort of magic main sword from Witcher games.
Oh,
it's the most powerful sword you can get in the game. Every sort of 6th consecutive strike you do with it, you do a critical.
Right.
So like you're constantly doing like loads of damage with it.
Yeah.
And I'd have him in Thieves Guild armor as like a cool contrast to his sort of like neon abilities. He would also be dressed in sort of like dark, macabre, Batman-esque clothing.
Yeah, I like that.
What's your next one?
So my next one, bit of a mix here. So we got Starkiller from the Force Unleashed games.
Oh yeah.
Cause I like his pace. Like he moves around pretty quick. I think gonna have him in Master Chief armor. So pretty sturdy stuff. I'm gonna give him Link's loadout from say Breath of the Wild. So Master Sword, Hyrule Shield, some bow and arrow of sorts. What ability? Oh yeah, and he's gonna have the classic blink, little teleport.
Oh,
from all the arcane games,
from the
short range
arcane
teleport. Games. Yeah. Just adds to his sort of. He's gonna be sort of just like ping, 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 just bouncing around.
Well, my next one is Nightcrawler.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good shout.
And I'm going to give him Vex's Claws. So, I don't know if you'll have ever played Vex. It came out in like 2003, 2002. And right. I'm sure it was made by Eidos.
Or Eidos.
Eidos. Sorry. And it was like their version of a platformer, but it was really dark. You were like in a sort of world where death had taken over and all that remained was ghosts, and you had to like solve puzzles for these ghosts and stuff.
Right.
And it ended on a cliffhanger, but it was quite a fun combat based game. Basically I'd give Nightcrawler these like gauntlets that had like iron spikes at the end, so you could like scratch and like, armor wise, I would give him Dancer of Boreal Valley armor, which I would obviously tailor it to him. But basically it's like twisted sort of almost beast like armor.
Right. What's that from?
Like Dark Souls 3.
Oh, right, okay.
And ability-wise, I would give him the ability to not just teleport, but teleport into like a swarm of bats. Make it like really badass.
Yeah. Cool.
Like,
Instead of,
and
like,
then the bats can like attack people.
He lets off like a bit of smoke, doesn't he, usually? But is it...
Yeah.
That instead of the smoke, when he reappears somewhere, there's like, say, 10 bats.
Yeah, and they'll like distract enemies so that he's got like time to reevaluate the situation. Like, so I'm pretty confident with my choices, but though I have let them all down by just giving them one weapon each.
Well, yeah, you need to stick to your own rules, man. And I specifically asked you as well, because it was like a take on D&D. I specifically said, are we going for like fantasy based stuff, which is pretty much what you've done. more or less. And when you said to me, no, it's fine, it can be sci-fi, it's just got to be from a video game, I was like, cool. But yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I've definitely won this one.
Yeah, I think probably you could do it alone with Iron Man's armor and a lightsaber.
Yeah, probably.
What was your skill again?
The domino effect.
Yeah, no.
So I don't have to kill one of you.
You wouldn't even have to kill me. No, you're not going after me. You're going after the Death Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
Dungeon.
Yeah, true. But if we were to, clash...
I'd throw my crows at you.
Oh, yeah. I'd be like, I'm wearing, like, armour. It's just going to bounce. The crows are just going to bounce off.
And then I'd try and befriend you. I'd be like, look at all this loot that I found. Would you like some?
We're like, Kratos, attack!
Yeah, no, I didn't think that through. So, I'm glad we're not keeping score on this, because otherwise it'd be really fucking tragic.
Yeah.
But you're winning.
I think, yeah, it's safe to say that, yeah.
Sad times. Maybe somebody can let us know who's actually winning, because I know for a fact it ain't me, but I can't be asked counting. Moving on to L's story time and Noceboverse. And I'm going to start with story time. So, have you ever heard of John Glenn?
Sorry, say again.
Have you ever heard of John Glenn?
John Glenn, yes. I don't know why.
He was a astronaut
Yes.
who went up into space, and he documented seeing, as he was out in space at one point, he documented seeing some like what looked like fireflies floating outside the space station, and was like really sort of like, what the fuck is that? Like, you know, they look just like fireflies or whatever. And it's a really cool story, and the way he tells it is quite haunting. You know, he says, like, you know, if you listen to or like read the report from back in the day, you know, he was adamant that there was these like fireflies floating through space. But what it actually turned out to be was light refracting off the urine that had been released from the space station.
He was seeing space piss.
You've seen space piss.
Fucking hell.
Which,
wow.
Keep it low, bar. But it's kind of a nice story. Fireflies in space.
Nope, it's just your crewmate's piss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
But
nice.
The concept's nice. I like the little fireflies in space.
See, it's not the story I thought you were going to tell, because the one I thought you were going to tell, there is an astronaut. He was on a spacewalk, and he reports seeing some sort of, he described it as some sort of entity that was like, it was like constantly shifting its shape and its form as it was like passing by. He said it definitely wasn't man-made. He said he's convinced he saw something. There's no evidence of it, so he's sort of been written off as a nut job. And they, like, a lot of them, they chalk it up to like, oh, you know, being in space for that long, that you get exposed to radiation. It's radiation sickness makes you see things, blah blah. And so, yeah, I don't know. You never know. Sounds a lot like the start of Prey to me.
Yeah. Well, we all know how Prey turned out.
For you, yeah.
Murder time in space. Murder time in space. Hit this guy with a wrench. Murder time in space. But yeah, that's my story time. Basically, space piss.
Yeah, I like it. It's a nice little twist at the end.
Nice little twist. And speaking of Noceboverse, whilst I'm currently working on numerous projects, please fucking shoot me, because there's far too many to keep track of. I'm very ADHD. I want to talk about one that's in the works called The Pilot of Omegas, which is going to be sort of sci-fi epic. Well, not a sci-fi epic. I don't want to hype it up to be that, but like it's my adaptation of like this, almost like Interstellar, The Martian, the
right.
sort of astronaut stranded, what happens kind of after, and how does it tie to the Noceboverse and everything like that. So it's my adaptation of that, and that's what I'm working on at the moment. I'm quite proud of how it's coming out so far. So that'll be released soon. So I'm going to talk about some that I've already talked about, which is Short Stay. Tarino Crew, they travel to a O-port, which is basically a hub between realities, and they travel there, and they're given like a sort of 24-hour free pass on this sort of O-port, so they're no longer wanted for 24 hours, and it's basically about the shenanigans and what they get up to. And Hotel Perdita is becoming more and more prevalent the more I release, in terms of what it represents in sort of the Noceboverse as a sort of understanding the lore. So I would recommend checking that out if you're interested in reading a bit of mystery.
Cool. That sounds good.
Like
Good plug.
and subscribe. Available on my Patreon for free.
Good stuff. Link in the
also,
description.
another thing. Link in the description. And also, something that I did mention in the last pod but didn't really promote. I now have started selling some of my artwork. So, some of the artwork that has been available in these videos is stuff that I've provided. I now sell some merchandise put together by my lovely fiance, Jay, and our researcher, who has basically put it together for us. And that is available. It's NOTSTEAM Productions on Etsy. And there's some little other hidden Nasibo-verse clues in there.
Yeah, I had a look through myself. Some cool stuff on there.
I like the unlucky squid poster.
Yeah.
That's probably my proudest achievement. So, moving on to our highlights and sort of topics. Anything you want to discuss? Anything you want to go over?
A little bit. So there was a gameplay reveal, or a sort of gameplay walkthrough rather, for Tears of the Kingdom, which is the Breath of the Wild sequel, and it just looks awesome. It looks a lot like Breath of the Wild, which kind of makes sense because it's on the same console, what have you, and it is a sequel. And it is essentially the same map, except it's updated and there's some stuff that's changed. And of course they've got the whole sky islands, I think they call them, which are basically giant land masses in the sky. And they showed some of the skills that it'll have, which look really mad. So it looks like this game is a lot about sort of sticking different stuff together to make new stuff. So for example, they were showing this is combat, so you can pick up a stick and whack the enemy with it. But it'll break after a couple of hits. They're like, why not use this new ability and fuse the stick with a rock? So then you make like a makeshift club, and it does more damage and it's more durable. And there's like a few things like that where it's like you can chop a tree down and then attach a big log to your little branch, and then you've got a massive weapon. They're like, or you could attach two weapons together. The example that they showed was a spear attached to another spear. So then it just had this ridiculously long spear, and they were saying it's really good for ranged attacks and keeping away from the enemy. It's like, well, no shit. And then when he puts it on his back, like when he's unequipped it or whatever, when he's put it on his back and he's walking away, it stays the same size. So he's like, does
it clip through the ground?
Well, no. So it's just up. So like it'll be fixed to his back, sort of at the bottom of the weapon, and then it'll be sort of 15 feet above his head. It'll be the rest of this giant weapon.
But what about when he rolls and stuff?
Yeah, it'll probably just clip to the ground. Yeah.
That's just lazy.
What else was there? There was a display of, again, like sort of like weird traversal options, like so you can stick other stuff together. Like they showed that you could stick 3 logs together to make a makeshift raft. And there were things in the environment that were basically like ancient pieces of machinery that you can put on some. You can stick to the raft, and it's a fan. You hit the fan, turns on, and you've got a makeshift boat.
You don't think that they're going to introduce like some sort of building mechanic, do you?
Well, sort of. Yeah, that's sort of what they're doing.
But like building towns and
no, I don't think it's going to be
a sort of Minecraft.
No, I think it's more about traversal and travel. Because everything that they've showed in terms of what you're building is all about getting you around. Like they've shown different kinds of, like I say, like a water vessel, like a water vessel, a fucking boat. Why a fucking water vessel? What the fuck's wrong with me? They showed like a car style thing as well. That was like taking them over the plains. Flying machines. So like different ways of getting up to the Sky Islands and stuff. Yeah, it just looks like more of the same, but with a few tweaks that it'll still feel enough. It'll still feel fresh enough that it feels like a new Zelda game. But still, hopefully holding on to that magic that made Breath of the Wild so special in the first place. It's just got me hyped for that game.
To be fair, I would because Dragon Quest did a building mechanic which worked really well. That sort of lent itself into Minecraft a bit more, and I think that Legend of Zelda could very easily find a way to have it that is their play style. Not moving forward. I'm not saying but even if it was a spin-off,
I hope they don't.
No, I'm thinking for people like Jay who enjoy sort of building simulators and enjoys sort of things like Minecraft and stuff like that. I do have recently, especially with the stuff that I've seen about Breath of the Wild and the new game that's coming out, they are leaning heavily into the crafting mechanics side of it, and that does make me think that maybe they might be working on maybe one that's more building. But who knows? Maybe. Don't know.
I hope not.
One thing I want to mention, keeping with the building mechanics, although this is the only one bit of news that I want to talk about today. Minecraft are introducing a D&D update where it will be Minecraft. So it'll be the art style and everything like that, but it'll be D&D, and you will have to do roles. You will be dungeon exploring. There's going to be all new baddies and monsters added, and as far as I can see at the moment, it possibly is going to be released for free, and it's going to be a free update. But it looks really cool. They've said that it's going to be a sort of, I think they said up to 20 hours of story gameplay, but then loads of just being able to, a bit like Slay the Spire, being able to just do infinite runs and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm kind of excited for it because, to be honest, Minecraft is one of those that it has stood the test of time, and I understand why, because it is quite accessible. It is, when they update it, they add things that players actually enjoy and are actually, no, this works. And I think, especially since we've recently been playing a lot of D&D, it is something that I would actually play. I'd be interested in it. I've got one more bit of news. How about you?
No, that's it really for me.
Okay. I have a sad announcement to make. That the Silent Hill developer of Origins and Shattered Memories has recently come out and said that the recent remake of Silent Hill 2 is a shitstorm.
Yeah.
And that doesn't fill me with a lot of hope.
Doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me one bit, to be honest. Think about how long there's been rumours of this game, and then it's almost like they've almost had to announce it because of all the discourse around it. So they've had to announce it, but then that's just shone a spotlight on them, and people want answers. So then there's people inside that are going to be talking for a bit of cash, and then, development hell. But I wouldn't read too much into it, because generally games are always a mess until they're not. So,
especially in today's day and age. I do think that he might not be the best judge of character, because while Silent Hill Origins was pretty good, Silent Hill Shattered Memories was a sort of weird, tried to be less scary, less horror themed, and more like almost like a, Do you remember like House of the Dead? That kind of at the arcades, like rail shooters.
Yeah.
Like from what I remember playing, it felt more like one of them than anything else.
That's weird.
You sort of, because it was on the Wii, and you sort of just walked your character to like a section, and then something would attack you, and you'd basically go into slow motion, and then you'd choose what to do.
Right.
It'd be like dodge that way, duck, hit, and yeah, it was shit.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great.
So that's my news, and it's sad. I'm sad. I want a Silent Hill game.
Well, I'll try and cheer you up with a quiz, shall
I don't think you're gonna. Maybe a Wolverine sandwich.
I don't think we're gonna hit those heights today, my friend.
A Wolverine sandwich.
But I do have I think it's an easier quiz, this one, than maybe in the last couple of weeks. But same rules as always. Well, as the last few weeks. All I'm looking for is a character. You just got to tell me the character's name.
Okay.
They are, from pop culture, shall we say? So they're a popular character. I've got 5 clues, I think. Yeah, 5 clues. You have a guess for each clue. Yeah. So clue number 1.
Yep.
Yeah, clue number 1. We got. I first appeared in a video game in 2007. That's 16 years ago now.
Kratos?
No. Definitely not. No.
Fuck for that.
Clue
That
number
would
2.
have been a fucking short answer.
Yeah, clue number 2. There have been 10 games released in my franchise, including remasters, etc.
How many, sorry?
10. 10 plus. Obviously, you're not supposed to get it from the first 2 anyway, because,
Well, no, but
it'd be kind of amazing if you
Okay.
did.
Altair.
Nope. No, not a terrible guess. I think that did come out in 2007, I think. Was it the first Assassin's Creed? Maybe earlier.
Something like that.
But yeah, not bad. Clue number 3. My original design was based on Johnny Knoxville. My initial character design was based on Johnny Knoxville. I didn't know this until looking into it, so it'd be quite impressive if you got this. But as soon as you know, you're like, oh shit, yeah, I can see it.
Give me a sec.
My original design was based on Johnny Knoxville. Don't be asking your research assistant to bloody Google it for you.
I'm not.
I saw you go off screen then, I'm just checking.
I was grabbing a lighter. Oh, man. Based on Johnny Knoxville. I'm thinking Max Payne, but that was before 2007. Because the first ever game does look like Johnny Knoxville's taking a frying pan to the face.
Yeah, a little bit.
So, you know what I mean? Is it Nathan Drake?
It is Nathan Drake, yeah. Yeah, it is. Well done.
He's based on Johnny Knoxville.
Apparently so. The initial character design, yeah. And I saw some concept art for it. He had some jeans on, some Converse, and like a sort of like baseball style top. Like it was like a white top with red sleeves. It's like I could totally see Johnny Knoxville like that. And obviously the character model was a little bit different to what we're used to, what we now know as Nathan Drake. So it looked more like Johnny Knoxville in this initial like mock-up. But yeah, I thought it was a cool little fact. Like, it's just weird to me that like developers were like, we want an action star. Who do we base it off? And they were sat in the meeting. Someone was like, The Rock. They're like, no. It's like Vin Diesel. Like, no. Like, Johnny Knoxville.
Johnny Knoxville. Do you know what would be great? At the start of every mission, if he just sort of like turns to the camera, he's like, "Hi, my name's Johnny Knoxville. Welcome to Jackass." And it's just you not using guns, just like crashing into enemies, knocking them out, ragdolling all over the place. Like, that'd be pretty. I'd play that.
Yeah, I'll just do the last two clues.
Yeah, go on. What are your other two clues?
Clue 4 was one of the games I appeared in was PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale.
Which that was like their Smash Bros. One.
Basically, right? Yeah, which is canon in the God of War series. 'Cause they reference it in Ragnarok. Like, he references like this tournament for like warriors from different realms. So it actually happened. Which I love that. And yeah, clue number 5 was just to give it away. I said, with my trusty mustachioed sidekick, I'm like the modern day Indiana Jones. So yeah. But yeah, well done. I thought you did quite well to get that on the third clue, because I thought with that it was like you either know it or you don't. But yeah, pretty good.
I was racking my brain because, like I said, all I could think of initially was Max Payne, because he does kind of look like.
He's got a look of. I can see that, yeah.
But like when Johnny Knoxville's been like shot in the stomach and he's doing this like.
Yeah.
Yeah, not great for podcasting, but I pulled a face.
Yeah, it was a good face.
It was a good face, thank you. Appreciate it. I agree with myself.
It's a vast improvement.
But yeah, no, like, I genuinely did not know that.
Bye, guys.
Bye! Like, it's fun.
Jesus.